The last thing we need in the wake of this budget is the kind of alarmism that overtook Australians during coronavirus. Alarmism and negativism are corrosive. I've always believed that we should deal with the facts in a rational way, even though sometimes you'll have the wind in your face rather than behind you. It is true that we are in a situation now where the economic winds are in our faces. And if you've tried running in those conditions, you know you've got to work harder. And that's the challenge for all of us. Yesterday, we learnt that in the 3 months to September, the consumer price index, basically inflation, came in at 7.3%. The last time inflation was higher than that was in the June quarter 32 years ago, 1990, when it was 7.7%. Now, while the Treasurer on Tuesday night didn't go on a spending spree, which would have been inflationary, nonetheless, there were very timid attempts at the budget deficit. And that is a barometer of government spending. 37 billion more this year than the revenue coming in. An estimated 44 billion more next year than the revenue coming in. An estimated 51 billion the year after. The federal government spending 51 billion more than it's getting in. Now, no one with half a brain could possibly convince you or me that that spending can't be addressed and significantly reduced. But while those inflationary pressures exist, the people on Struggle Street have done very little to contribute to the problem. Remember the Reserve Bank giving away money for next to nothing? Hopelessly inflationary, but the battler pays the price. The single biggest driver of inflation in that September quarter was new dwelling costs. Now, to be fair, you can't blame the government for this. This derives from the floods, the rebuilding, the shortage of materials, the shortage of labour, and the prices go up. Nonetheless, that component of consumer prices, new dwelling costs, is 20.7% higher than it was last year. So a lot of people competing for the same materials, the same timber, the same nuts and bolts, the same labour. Then we're aware of gas and fuel prices up 10.9% in the September quarter. I'll come back to that shortly. Furniture prices, a sign of increasing demand. They were up by almost 7%. There were some strange results. Milk prices in Melbourne are up by 16% over the past year, the fastest annual rate since the 1982 drought. Fruit and vegetable prices in the September quarter were up by 16.2% because, obviously, crops destroyed by floods. Consumer demand pushes up prices. Simple as that. And people following coronavirus want to get out and live again, so domestic holiday travel and accommodation rose by almost 4% nationally. Now, with the current demand pressures in the economy, it is most probably true that the December CPI figure could be higher than the forecast 7.75%. So while the Reserve Bank has lifted the cash rate from 0.1%, as ridiculous then as it is now, to 2.6% since May, we are going to have to tighten the belts. It's inevitable there'll be more interest rate increases by the Reserve Bank coming from its November and December meetings. Now, none of this means that shoppers should be spooked, but rather habits will have to change. Coles have admitted that prices across the Coles stores climbed by over 7% in the September quarter. But without sounding like a cracked record, wherever you turn, the comment is the same. As the Coles boss, Stephen Kane, said, quote, "The biggest concern in the budget were the remarks about energy price increases over the next 18 months, unquote." And he's right. The Treasurer talking about a 56% increase in energy bills in the next 2 years, which brings me to 2 points. The first is a political truism. When you're tired of saying it, that's only when the electorate is starting to hear it. So my second point is one I've made over and over again, and I don't apologise for it. The time is now for this Labor government to reassess its energy policies and its green ambitions. We cannot continue towards a growing economy while the Albanese government, egged on by crossbenchers and by some in the opposition, want to demonise fossil fuels. The economy is being propped up by the very resource industry that the national government wants to remove from the energy market. I repeat what the dangerous Energy Minister Bowen said on Monday proudly, that he was embracing, quote, "the biggest economic transformation our country has seen since the war," unquote. He's right. His energy policies of net zero will not transform the economy. They'll destroy it. The consequences will be felt by every Australian.